Hi, welcome to Anything Goes. My name is Amanda, and today I have some fun DIYs and also a story at the end that talks about diversity. As you had seen on the previous screen, that is my Instagram name, so please feel free to find me on Instagram, and I would love to see anything that you make that maybe I inspired you to do. It doesn't have to be the same, but if you got an idea just from watching something, then I would absolutely love to see that. So our first DIY, this guy's name is SPROCKET, and all of the DIYs that we're making we are going to use the window clings that you can find at Dollar Tree and at Dollar General. So what I wanted to do with the window clings was not just use it as an image, but I wanted to make them 3D and embellish them in a way that things looked 3D. So for example, for this guy, for Sprocket, I used a real bead to glue to his nose. Now for each of them, I did use a different type of back. So for this one, I'm using a bamboo cutting board from Dollar Tree. I did go ahead and fill in the holes of the nose. I just find that it's easier to glue on when I do that. The only problem is the filler is white and the bead has that natural wood. But I did find a little solution to that you'll see later on. So I went ahead and Mod Podged a bat on to also be a part of Sprocket's look. And now I am going to embellish his hat. And I grabbed one of the purple beads from Dollar Tree, filled it in with the filler, and then I grabbed a letter bead, the letter S for his name. And here I'm showing you how I unwrapped a piece of candy, and I used one of the long beads from Dollar Tree and put that inside the wrapper, and then wrapped it and twisted it so it would look like a piece of candy without actually having real candy inside it. And I think this might be out of frame and you can't see it, but there's what the finished look came out to look like, and I trimmed it down so it wasn't as big. And it was really a random piece of candy, not a Jolly Rancher or any kind of name brand. So then I'm gonna hot glue the piece of candy by his trick-or-treat bag so it looks like some of the candy is, overflowing out of his bag. And then I glued on the purple bead for his hat. And on top of that bead, I glued the S bead for his name, Sprocket. And that pretty much finished up Sprocket. Now, each of the gnomes have names in this video, and you'll see at the end I created somewhat of a comic type way to story tell. Here's the little trick that I figured out if you use the lightest color fabric marker and color over the white, it blends in very well, or it makes it not as noticeable, not as white. So Sprocket is done, and here he is finished. And now we will move on to DIY number 2, which is Twinkles. Twinkles is a witch gnome. So like I said, I used different types of backgrounds. The first was the bamboo cutting board. So for this one, I'm using the smaller oven, not oven, stove coil cover, and I'm going to use the inside. So I didn't paint the back. I didn't do anything with the back. I measured it out, and what I liked about this surface is the clings actually stick really well to this surface on their own. Now, of course, I went ahead and Mod Podged it down, but for children to play with, what a great little gift to buy, you know, some Christmas window clings and a set of the covers, and they can make their own scenes and peel and take them off. It reminds me of a toy that I used to play with. I can't think of the name of it, and if anybody can think of the name of it, but they had like window cling type characters, and then a hard box that had a scene. And I remember I had a Cabbage Patch one, I had a My Little Pony one, and you could reuse the clings and set up little scenes on them. I'm gonna have to look up what they're called, because it's driving me crazy that I can't think of the name of it. But my brother had Transformer ones, had Star Wars ones, so I thought, wow, what a really cool way to kind of bring that same concept back. And then, you know, for all you classroom teachers out there, you can get window clings that are the alphabet, and then every week switch it out. And, you know, if you're teaching a kindergarten class, the letter of the week, or spell out the words of the week. And these things are also magnetic, so you could also use the magnetic letters to write out what the words of the week are. You know, just anything that makes what you're teaching in the classroom a different way of teaching it. Okay, so I've done enough talking about how great and how much I love these coil covers. So let's get back to our witch here. So to make her 3D, I took a bead and I did paint it green because I wanted it to match with her original nose underneath the cling, which was green. I made her a little broom, and it is the cutest broom. Basically, I just used the method of making a tassel. I just didn't, you know, hook it onto anything, because I wrapped the black yarn around it and I tried to copy pretty much what the broom looked like on the window cling. So I made the cutest little broom, And when it got a stick outside that fit and covered the stick on the cling, because that was the biggest issue I would say I had, was making sure that what I made to be 3D would cover the original picture on the cling. So like the broom, I had to make sure that it would cover the broom behind it. And when I get into what I do next for her, that became an issue because I decided to, I didn't even put her nose on yet. I just did the broom. So there, I mixed up some colors of green to get that bright green to match her. And then I painted the bead, let it dry, and glued that on. Again, she had, and I'm sorry for my hair in the way here, but her nose was like not round. It was more oblong. So I had to find a really big bead to try to hide her nose. So my next 3D idea is to give her some real braids. And I didn't show this on camera because this video is already long enough, but I braided several different ones using, 9 strands for the first one, then using 12, anything where by 3s, so I could have 3 sections with whatever the number is to do the braid. And they were all too small. None of them covered the original picture. So that was Twinkles, our witch. And now we're going to move on to DIY number 3, BINGLES. And I have to tell you that I actually went to a gnome naming website to find these names, because I didn't want to just come up with like everyday names like Bob and things like that. So this set of window clings came from Dollar General. The gnome ones were from Dollar Tree, but I had to have it because it had a truck. I wasn't too fond of the skeleton driving the truck and, the like evilness of the way the truck looked. I wanted it to look more, I guess, toned down and more farmhouse. So just wait and see what I ended up doing to the truck to get Bingles, the gnome, to be the one driving the truck. So as usual, I Mod Podged it down. Now this background is a canvas, and I decided to turn it so that it was going like a diamond shape, because I just thought it would give a little more uniqueness to it, not the typical just square shape. So I made a gnome. I took some of my gnome beard, a bead, and then a sock that I cut the corner off that has a tip, and then I glued it together inside out, and then I flipped it and glued the beard, the nose, and the hat together, and that was it. Simple gnome. Gnomes are getting easier and easier to make on your own. So I didn't want those pumpkins because they just looked too cartoony to me, and I was really trying to make more, you know, gnomes with things that are a little more realistic. So I just grabbed some fall leaves and glued them on and covered up what was in the bed, those those jack-o'-lanterns with the faces. Now I don't know if you can see here if I've added the arm yet, but once I glued the gnome on, then the skeleton arm was still seen as driving the wheel. So that was something I had to figure out what I was going to do to cover that, and also have it be an arm so that the gnome was the one driving the truck. So I found, I took one of my kids' toys and that they don't play with, a little character or something, and I removed the arm from the character, and it was the perfect size because it was a little on the shorter side. So I glued that arm down, and I'm not sure if I'm to that part yet or not, but that's the arm I used so that he was driving the truck. And then to add pumpkins back into the bed of the truck, I picked up this set of, I think there were 5 originally. I think I used one for something else, but they were just really sweet looking pumpkins with really cute little sayings on them. And I like, of course, how they had a pink one. So it just kind of brought the truck to life a little more than if it was just used as a window cling. And after I glued the pumpkins down in a way that I wanted them glued down, and I glued his hand down so he was the one driving, I believe that was all that I did. I kept this one pretty simple, didn't want to add any other window clings like bats or things like that. I just really wanted the focus to be on the truck and, you know, the gnome driving the truck with in there you can see the hand that goes with, that was DIY 4, which is Gertrude. It's not really a DIY, but Gertrude plays a role in the story that is at the end of the video. So DIY 5, I used the cardboard square that comes in the calendars. And here is our gnome that we're going to be working with. And once again, I went ahead and applied Mod Podge to the gnome and then put him down on the cardboard. Now for this gnome, I wanted to give him a different nose, and that plays a part in the story. So I picked out a green pom-pom nose. I've noticed that a lot of the gnomes that are out right now at Dollar Tree for Christmas, they're using tan pom-poms for noses. So there's nothing wrong with using a pom-pom for a nose. But traditionally speaking, you know, so far, most gnomes have some type of wooden nose. So then I made this guy a ghost friend, and I did that just doing again the same thing as I would if I was gonna make a tassel. And where I tied him, I glued some Dollar Tree buffalo check ribbon around his neck, and then I'm going to glue 2 eyes onto him. So that's his ghost. I actually didn't name the ghost, and I would love it for anybody to comment and pick a name for the ghost, and I will do a random comment picker and select what the ghost's name should be. Because one day I really would like to write a children's story. That is something I have always been fascinated with, and I have in all my years of teaching, I use picture books, even teaching middle school, to teach important lessons. So I glued on some eyes to our ghost friend, and we've got our nose on the gnome. So now I'm painting my fingers black and putting fingerprints all around. And oh, I must have missed the footage. It must be somewhere else in the video. I turned those fingerprints into spiders and gave each of them 8 legs. So this one is not a gnome, but it's an important sign that plays an important part in the story at the end. So I took some shiplap scrapbook paper. I found a frame that I had that had some other saying in it, and popped the back out, measured it, and cut out the shiplap paper. And you know, I like to always show you guys mistakes that I made. The side I cut it out of was the side that has that trim on it that you're supposed to cut off. So it included that white trim, so I had to recut and remeasure a second piece. But that was just a careless mistake that I made, and hopefully in the future I won't make that mistake. But so this is an interesting part. So I had bought the spray glue from Dollar Tree because I wanted to try it out. I thought, well, that'd be pretty cool just to, squirt a couple sprays. Like, I'm thinking it would be like a mist. And as you can see, it was not a mist. And it just kind of dripped out. So I personally will not buy this product again. I don't know if the spray part was jammed, but it caused more issues than it was worth. So much easier to just take Elmer's glue and spread it with my finger or a glue stick and glue the paper on that way. So I was excited about the spray adhesive because I really was thinking it was going to come out like a Bath and Body Works mist would, but it would be glue. So then, the thing would be sticky. But it didn't work that way. So anyway, I glued down the scrapbook paper, and then I'm going to Mod Podge the pumpkin window cling onto that scrapbook paper, which is coming up in a minute. And guys, I really apologize about being in and out of frame. I got a new tripod holder that is like a desk lamp, has a desk lamp clamp at the end. So you clamp it somewhere on your work area and then put your phone in it, which I love because I can, adjust it so easily. But the problem is I never seem to have it in the same place because of adjusting it. So I do apologize about being out of frame. So I Mod Podged the pumpkin down to our scrapbook paper on the cardboard that goes into the frame. And then, of course, I wanted to somehow add a 3D element to the pumpkin. And what I came up with was to, again, I made, just like I would with the green yarn, like a tassel. So that bottom part that I wrapped in the gingham is still tied together, and I use that as its stem. Okay, so this DIY is using window clings but not gnomes. So I had 3 of these tropical arrow signs left over from like the summertime, I think. And I decided I was going to work on the backs of them, not the fronts. So that same green that I had made earlier for the one gnome's nose, I painted one of the arrows that green color. And by the way, for a tip for storing your paint besides in a container that has a lid, I like to use, because I burn a lot of candles, so I like to use the lids to the candles because they have a nice deep and it's clear, so you can really see the color area to mix paint in. And then all you have to do is put another lid on top of that, and it will keep the paint cold, or keep it not cold, but it'll keep it from drying out. So you can just stack them one by one by one, and then put the final one on top that doesn't have paint in it, and you can have all of those colors that you have mixed yourself together. So for this particular arrow, I am going to glue down some ghost window clings. And of course I do make these still 3D, because that was the main focus, was to embellish the window clings and make them 3D. So I glued googly eyes onto each ghost, a set of googly eyes onto each ghost. And I was a little worried about how it might turn out, because sometimes googly eyes can look really, childish or not quite grown up. But I have to say, with these ghosts, the eyes worked really well. And I didn't think, that it looked any different than, it didn't make it look like it was for a child. Okay, so the next arrow I painted it. I think it was like a mineral or a color like that, and I just Mod Podged Trick or Treat onto it. I did not do anything to make it 3D. So that I could have 4 of the arrows, I went into my stash and got out one of the Dollar Tree arrows that they sell in the Crafter Square, and used that to make my 3rd sign, which I am painting it green. And once I get the arrow painted green, and I have to tell you that I obviously know that when this gets uploaded, it will be way after Halloween, but that's how long it took me to put all of this together. And I did not want to waste it because I thought it had such an important lesson at the end. And, you know, you can even just share the end part with children and tell a story. So the green sign, I put on there the pumpkin window clings, and then I wanted to make the 4th one. I wanted it to have spider webs. I noticed that it was like, it's been a hot trend that people are making spider webs with their Cricuts, but I don't have that ability, so I went looking for free spiderweb printables, and I found a link, which I will link in my description box below, because as long as you paint whatever it is you're gluing it to white, I just printed it on white paper. It looks just the same as if it was printed off a Cricut or Silhouette. I loved how the spider webs came out. So some of the paper was a little bit sticking over, so I took the sanding block. I think most of you know that trick. If you have paper that you glue down to wood or a hard surface, instead of trying to cut the paper off, if you use the sanding block, it will make a perfect line and remove that excess paper. So after I got the spider web on, then it was time to glue down the spiders, that the window cling spiders. Now, I had thought about how I could make this 3D with the spiders, how I can make the spiders 3D, and I really couldn't come up with anything other than if maybe I glued black puffballs to each of their backs. But of course I didn't have any black puffballs on hand. I had every other color in the book, but not black. So I didn't end up actually being successful in making the spider arrow, the pumpkin arrow, and the trick or treat arrow. I wasn't able to make those 3D. So, of course, I still have them. So if I, find something around the house that can be used to enhance them, which that's the whole purpose of this video, is how you can just take the dollar window clings, which by the way come with I don't know, 20 clings when you get down to the nitty gritty, because the little spiders all count. So the gnome one came with 3 gnomes, and then it came with multiple bats, and it came with the pumpkin sign that says whatever it says about a gnome. So the truck one came with some bats and some pumpkins. So they come with 15 to 20 clings for $1, which is fantastic. And you can take those clings anytime, any season. So I did want to take some time to thank you for watching my video, and that picture will come back again at the end. I wanted to share with you guys some of the goals that I have since the new year is coming up soon. And as you see the images of how I set everything up, I did do another DIY using, I think it's like a grill, a miniature, like a hibachi grill top that you actually lay the food on, that right there. And I found this free printable that says, I can't read what it says at the moment, but it went along with the theme of my story. So this is how I set everything up in my tiered tower. And there's another little gnome there I made using a flower pot. I just wanted to include her because she fits in to the story. Now this footage I didn't put in the right order, so it just shows me using my staple gun to staple the 4 arrows onto a painter stick. So again, really inexpensive. The 3 arrow sign was $1. The extra arrow was another $1, so that's $2. And the painter stick, let's just say 50 cents. So we're at $2.50. Then the window clings, I probably used $1 worth, so we're at $3.50. And the paint, and then the embellishments like the eyes, which I didn't use many embellishments on this one. Let's just round it to $4. So I would say this sign cost about $4 to make. And I did not paint the painter stick. I wanted it to be the natural wood. But how cute is that for a sign, you know, to show like where different events are at. Go this way if you want to go trick-or-treating, or go this way if you want to go to the haunted house with the ghosts. Go this way if you want to go at the pumpkin patch with the gnome driving the truck. And go this way if you want to go to, you know, a creepy crawly house with spiders. So, oh yeah, and with the truck, I forgot to mention that I did go around the perimeter and glue down some nautical rope. And what I did with this sign was, I live in Florida, so, and where I live, my trees get tons of Spanish moss. So I just went outside and grabbed a handful of the Spanish moss, stuck it in the pumpkin pail, the pumpkin trick-or-treating pail, and then stuck my sign in there. And I can't tell you how many times I used that Spanish moss. And I am really impressed with my driving gnome because of taking the hand off the toy. And I wanted to show you this. I did originally try to paint the background. All of the gnomes were hanging out at the annual Halloween festival, deciding on what activities they wanted to do. Janky said, "Hey Gertrude, do you think the Cool Gnomes group would let us join them?" Twinkles says, "Let's go trick-or-treating, my gnome friends." Jingles replies, "Us gnomes need to stick together. Be careful of fake ones." Sprocket says to Janky, "Why is your nose a puffball?" And Sprocket says to Gertrude, "Why is your body and nose crocheted?" Janky replies, "Why fit in when we were born to stand out?" Quoted by the wise Dr. Seuss. So you see, even though the 5 gnomes looked differently, one had a puffball nose, one was made out of yarn, there is no reason that they can't be friends and go to the Halloween festival together. I had made a DIY that I didn't include in the video, but it had a saying on it that says, "Why fit in when you were made to stand out?" And that's something that I use to teach my own children, and when I was a teacher, to teach children about acceptance. Another thing that I like to point out when I work with children is that common statement they make when another child gets something and they don't get that same thing. They often say, "That isn't fair." So I found this poster and I always kept it hanging up, and the poster says, "Fair doesn't mean everybody getting the same thing. Fair means everybody gets what they need to be successful." So, for example, if the one student or one child needs a pencil grip when writing to be successful, to be able to write, then that child gets the pencil grip. But it doesn't mean everybody gets the pencil grip, because not everybody needs the pencil grip to write. So thank you for watching my video with my DIYs and my story about diversity and acceptance. I also want to share that if you are a company and you are looking for advertising, I would be happy to feature your products in my videos and post them on Instagram, which is linked to my Facebook. So that would be 3 different places that you would get advertising at no cost. Also, I just want to say thank you for watching. I made some goals for 2022. Goal number 1 is to reach 500 subscribers. Goal number 2 is to connect with my family. And goal number 3 is to find my smile. Thank you so much for all of your support. through this priceless experience, and I look forward to the future. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so you're notified for any videos I update or I upload. I'm sorry. And I just put together some 2020 memories. So thank you and have a fabulous weekend.